Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 12th, 2026 meeting of the Corvallis School Board. It is called to order at 6:34 p.m. To support the health and safety of all community members, particularly those who are immunocompromised and their families, the board continues to offer a virtual participation option for board members and district staff. Public comment is available at select meetings, both in person and virtually. Details on how to provide public comment are available on the Corvallis School District website. Tonight's agenda, board packet, and a link to the district's YouTube channel can be found on the school board page of the website. All public meetings are live streamed on YouTube, and recordings are typically posted the following day. Tonight we have all board members in attendance, and the first item on the agenda is student representative reports.
Thank you. So we have a very hastily written board report, but this month College Hill has become even more diverse with the welcome of a few new students, and many academy classes are halfway through their awesome units, such as experimental design, who's currently studying the dietary intake of fruit flies, basketball, which remains as competitive as ever, and choir, who is practicing for our graduation. And today we had a few wonderful guests come into our school, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to share our stories and experiences with them all.
Hi, I'm Aya Akavan Haydari. I'm a CHS representative. Unfortunately, one of our ASB presidents was supposed to come, but he had the student report, so very unfortunate. Some updates though. The leadership team is excited to participate in the OSU ropes course. We are also planning prom, and everyone's super excited about that. Theme has been set in place, and I believe we're also working on a few fundraisers for our senior class gifts, and that's about it.
Okay, that's everybody, right? Yes. Thanks you all for your reports. And the next item on the agenda is the work session with the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation. So I just want to say welcome you all to the meeting. We're glad to have you here this evening with us, and look forward to this when we have our joint meetings every time. So I know we're going to do welcome and introductions. Are you starting that, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, did you have more welcoming remarks though?
No, again, just looking forward to our time together. We typically do this in the fall and in the spring, and this year, because of the nature of the fall, this is the first chance for us to come together. So we look forward to hearing about everything that the foundation has been up to, and then also sharing the work that's been happening in the district, and then an opportunity to have conversations together. So just looking forward to the opportunity to spend time with key members of our community, both in our board and the foundation board as well. And I'm Ryan Nass. I'm the superintendent. So I think we can just go ahead and go around and do introductions. Therese, do you mind going next?
Not at all. I'm Therese Jones, and I'm a vice chair for the Corvallis School Board.
Hi, I'm Bernie Wong. I'm on the board, the youngest member, I guess, the newest member.
Wow.
Not youngest.
Hello, my name is Sami Alabdrabo. I might be the youngest board member, most senior board member.
Hi everyone, Melissa Harder. I'm the Assistant Superintendent and Human Resources Director for the Corvallis School District.
Hi, I'm Kim Nelson, and I am the Board Secretary.
Hi, I'm Byron Bethers, Director for Student Growth and Experience.
Hello, I'm Mark Goheen from the Foundation. I'm the Treasurer.
Hi, my name is Yan Wang. I'm the Foundation Trustee.
I'm Nina Ehrlich-Williams. I'm the Interim Chair of the Foundation Board.
Hi, I'm Angela Hibbert, and I'm the Executive Director of the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation.
Good evening. I'm Rick Wallace, and I'm also a trustee of the foundation. Hi, I'm Julie Penry. I'm a member of the Foundation Board.
Hi, I'm Hope Rogers, and I am also on the Foundation.
Good evening, Gordon Zimmerman. I'm on the Foundation as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Harder. I am the interim secretary of the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation.
Hello, my name is Aya Akavan Haydari, and I am a Corvallis High School student representative.
Hi, my name is Judah Largent. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a board member.
Hello, my name is Jack Martin, and I'm a College Hill student representative.
Hello, I'm Chris Hawkins, school board member.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shauna Tomini, she, her pronouns, and I am co-vice chair of the Corvallis School Board.
And Luke White Bear, chair of the Corvallis School Board, and I always get to see you all once a month, or the co-vice chairs take turns with me, but you don't get to see the rest of the board, so new folk get to meet you and everything. And then we have a report that you all are going to do first, right? Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Well, thanks again for having us here. As Ryan mentioned, it's been a minute, a little longer than normal since we've been here, so we're just excited to share some highlights from the last year and give a little preview of what's to come. And Jan's gonna kick us off.
Hello everyone, I'm really excited. And I think first of all, thank all school board members and the school district leadership team and the students representative from 2 high schools for taking time to be here and join our conversation. Thank you. And the second, I'm so happy to be the person to start this conversation, and the second, Angela and Nina, for giving me this opportunity. It's such an honor. Thank you also. And first, I want to start our conversation by talking about the mission of Corvallis Public School Foundation. Should we have the slides or? Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. So the mission of our foundation is to provide resources and opportunities to every student to succeed in our public schools. And for us, the emphasis on every is very important because we understand that in some cases, more resources are needed for students to overcome their barriers to truly access their education. And next, Rick, we will talk about how Foundation has done to help realize this mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And if we can go ahead, we'll go to the next. There it is. The Public Schools Foundation helps students succeed by prioritizing our funding in 3 areas. Most of you are familiar with this. First, we try to remove barriers for students. And our deep commitment to the Family Support Program is just one way in which we do that. And as well as supporting programs like Bridges, which is the exciting new program that we have helped launch following the leadership of the district administration. Our second priority is funds for enrichment activities, because we know that the day-to-day of the classroom and the limitations of the budget don't meet every need for every student every day. So we try to fill in as many gaps as we can. Our grant programs are perhaps the main way in which we do that. We invest in educator-led initiatives as well as student initiatives in the arts, music, STEM, and other hands-on kinds of programs that we hope and we can see inspire students and help them prepare for success both in the classroom and outside the classroom now and for the rest of their lives. And then our third priority is to invest in academic interventions. Real-world learning opportunities with support for the summer program, which is dear to our hearts, and I know all of you are deeply committed to it as well, and help those students who need that extra time and that extra support get what they need in order to graduate and launch themselves out into the world. But because it's been a year since we last met with this board, we'd like to share just a very brief recap of our 2025 Impact in Action, which I think shows up on the next slide in just a minute. You all have a copy of our annual report, and I know you have all read it several times, and there will be a test later. Anyway, I excuse me, I'll point out a few highlights. Last year, we gave more than $400,000 in grants and other kinds of financial support to our public schools here in Corvallis. Close to 95,000 of that supported those learning enrichment activities. Close to those included the Imagine grants, where members of the district staff came to us and with proposals for programs and activities that really do enrich the lives of our students, as well as student-led YAY grants, and those are always fun. We have some very creative, hardworking students who are doing great things for their schools, for their schoolmates, and for the community. We contributed $95,000 to students navigating poverty. We are all distressed by the level of need in the community, and it's one of the things that we are happiest to be able to support the district's remarkable work on behalf of all those students. And with the support of generous sponsors in the community, mostly business sponsors, but some individuals, we also were able to contribute $150,000 to last summer's summer school program. And that's just an exciting thing for us to see. And I know other board members and other trustees and I really love it when we have a chance to go visit those programs and see what's going. In addition to that, we facilitated over $160,000 in support to individual schools and their programs through pass-throughs and a number of other things. So with that, I'm happy to turn the microphone over to my colleague, Gordon Zimmerman, who's going to highlight some of the work that we're doing this year. Gordon?
Thank you, sir. I think I'm the newest member on the foundation board, but I think I got the best part. We kicked off the school year this year by participating in the back-to-school rally. It was great to be a part of that celebration. We partnered with a number of local businesses to surprise 18 lucky winners with $250 grants to use in their classrooms and programs, all in the style of Bob Barker, if you remember the old Price is Right, come on down. It was a lot of fun. In addition to those 18 lucky winners, the best part of the event was also reinforcing to all the educators in the community how much we support them. And I think that message came through loud and clear. It was a great event. And I think we've got a video to show you to give you some of the highlights.
075. Principal, broker, and owner at Connected Realty. Also. Oh God! Take a picture. Congratulations to all the grant winners. If you could stay so we can take a couple photos.
How can you beat that? Thank you, and I'll pass it off to Julie.
You don't have a script?
I don't. No, that would be great. Thank you.
We have to do this. Another priority of ours this fall, as you've already heard, we have a deep commitment to supporting our students and families who are navigating poverty and just other challenges. And this year, in addition to our ongoing support, just seeing what was happening in the community and that need becoming more acute, we collaborated with Sarah Devine and her team in the Family Support Program to try to harness the power of our community to ensure that during the government shutdown and the threats to SNAP funding, that our students and families had what they needed. So we put out a call to the community and they responded, and in an overwhelming way. And within days, really, and weeks, the food pantries at all the schools were full. I think over $10,000 in gift cards were donated to Winco and other locations. Financial contributions were made to help us continue that work. And I think it's just an example of one of the things that we strive to do in terms of to have that flexibility and be able to pivot and, you know, be responsive to the needs that emerge in our schools and have that partnership. I think the example of, you know, partnering with the Family Support Program is a really good example of how the two organizations lean in together and then have a multiplier impact in our schools. Me again. Sorry about that. So another thing that we've done so far this year, there's been a lot, you might have noticed there's been a lot of conversation and engagement in the community this year around a lot of the changes that are happening in our schools. We thought it was really important that the business community was one part of that conversation. So we partnered with Byron and the leadership team to bring together a listening session of industry leaders to hear from them. The response was really positive, both in terms of we had a short lead time, and I think everybody we invited wanted to come and came, and I think it really showed how the community really does want to be part of the conversation with our schools. And another one of those less tangible things that you won't see on a balance sheet, but one of the values that the foundation and the partnership can bring is that convening. So I think that was a really powerful luncheon that we had together, and something that we hope we can help continue to kind of facilitate that conversation. Before I turn off my microphone, I'm just going to take a peek, but it's not me, so.
Thank you. Hi again, I'm Mark Goheen. I'm the treasurer of the foundation. So I have good news to share. So most of you are probably familiar with our annual signature fundraising event and outreach event, Hands Across Corvallis. We've been doing it for a number of years now. We realized earlier this year, as we look back on the previous Hands Across Corvallis, that we had the opportunity to achieve an ambitious goal this year of getting to $1 million cumulatively over the years for this event and fundraising. So thanks to our community sponsors, some hard work by Angela and the staff, and the generosity of the community at large, we met and exceeded our goal of $128,000 for this year. The last number I saw was $138,000. It could still be growing. And so, of course, we'll have to set our sights even higher next year, and we will, but that's for next year. So for now, again, good news that we met our goal. We're very happy with that.
Thanks, Mark. That's the victim of success that we'll have to do even more next year. So we also wanted to share, for a number of years, we've been working and partnering with some community donors who really have a passion and a vision for investing in our school athletic facilities to bring competitive, quality, safe, and equitable opportunities to our students. And this spring, we get to celebrate the realization of part of that work. There's actually a celebration on April 10th at Crescent Valley to celebrate the new field lighting there that's benefiting both the baseball fields and the softball fields, and many other teams and student groups that will benefit from that. And then also the work that's happened at Hanson Stadium at CHS, which also is kind of coming online this spring. So that's been the culmination of some years of work and exciting investment in our facilities and our community, and I think an example of what is possible by harnessing that power and passion in the community.
And as we look ahead to the remainder of the year and beyond, we're committed to supporting our educators through a year of change and transition. One way we plan on doing this is by partnering with the Benton County Schools Credit Union to offer a unique and low barrier resource grant to help fund materials, classroom supplies, and other resources staff might need when moving assignments. And we'll be formally announcing this to staff in the spring, which is a program that we're really excited to move forward with. We also have another fun event ahead, which is on the next slide. Trivia! So for the first time, we'll be hosting this new fundraising event. We'll be having a trivia night on April 22nd, Earth Day. So please save the date, sign up your teams. There is limited availability, so sign up soon. You'll be able to participate with you and 3 other friends in what we think is going to be a really fun and awesome event at Trysting Tree. The goal for this event is to bring the community together for an evening of knowledge and fun while we raise money for our grant programs because we know that the need outstrips our available funds and we want to close that gap. And also we want to provide a different kind of event that's going to bring in more people and give more people exposure to the foundation and the work that the foundation does. And finally, on the next slide, but certainly not least, we are continuing with our commitment to summer programs and are currently fundraising to ensure that we will continue to provide this critical opportunity for our students to earn credit, to stay engaged in school, and to develop valuable academic and relational skills that pay dividends throughout the year and their lives.
Thanks, everyone. I'm just going to wrap up quickly. I don't want to repeat what everybody said, but just highlight a little bit about the way that we really see the foundation adding value to what the district is providing. And there were some impressive numbers shared tonight, but I would argue that the foundation's partnership with the district exceeds just those dollars in the sense of both some of the community partnerships Angela was highlighting. But even, like I've learned over the years on the foundation board, hearing from district leadership, things like summer school, we do contribute a large amount to those summer programs, but the district is also pulling together resources in whatever way that it can. And I think a lot of the benefit of having this foundation as a partnership is having these private flexible dollars that can maybe fit into the nooks and crannies where the other funding can't work. So both summer programs, like Angela was saying, the family support program, I think those are 2 really good examples of that. And just trying to make sure I'm covering everything. Also thinking about COVID and during that time where we were able to provide support for staff so that they could also be there for students. I think about like the Imagine and Yay grants where, yes, those are really small dollars when you look at them for each individual grant, but the excitement that brings to the classroom. And also, like, for especially the student grants, the real world learning that comes from that, of both, like, they have to apply for the grant, they have to manage the grant, and then they also see the benefit they're providing to their school community. So we're just excited about the opportunity to continue working with you, look for opportunities to keep growing the partnership. So that's our presentation.
Does anybody have questions for the foundation?
I'm surprised. Go ahead, Bernie. I was just say somebody has a question.
Angela, is the resource program, the pantry, still going on, or have we stopped?
We've stopped soliciting the gifts. We respond to Sarah and her team. There's times when they can handle a lot of things, and there's times when we kind of have enough in storage capacity and things like that. So we've stopped actively recruiting for those hard resources, but we're always recruiting in the community for dollar resources, right? Which then allow her team to be flexible and responsive. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? Good, Chris.
Thanks for that great presentation. I love hearing about all those things, and I love hearing about how you're planning on supporting our teachers that are going to be transitioning, because that's not an easy thing to do, to move schools or classrooms, and that'll be nice to have that kind of support. My question, and I won't get into why I'm asking this, but you'll probably figure it out. Have you ever compared the work that you're doing here in Corvallis with foundations around the state? Like, how is what we're doing, what you're doing here, different than what other foundations are doing?
I think education foundations are as different as they are in number. I mean, there are a lot of commonalities, but they all have individual focuses. So, for example, our neighbors in Albany, and I collaborate with them a lot, have a very strong focus on scholarships for their graduating seniors. And if you were to look at their financial report, you probably find a lot more focus on that than we do, and others have different focus. I think in talking to other EDs, at least locally, I don't know entirely nationally, but I think that our collaboration with district leadership and this partnership is pretty unique. And I think that it allows the dollars that we bring to be that much more impactful, because the work is informed by what's happening in the schools, and we're not just working in silos. So I think that is pretty unique, and something that collectively these two groups should be pretty proud of.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions?
Will the trivia be multiple choice?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess that's all of our questions. I wanted to say thanks for your presentation. I love seeing it all like pulled together, and know that it's touched the lives of countless students over the years. So all your work and partnership is greatly appreciated. And I think Ryan has the next presentation, right?
Yeah, and before I transition, I just again want to say thank you. Your ability to provide the resources when they need them, when we need them for our students that we know well because we spend every day with them, is just phenomenal. Today we were at a school listening to a presentation, and students were talking about the resources that they've needed to be successful in school. And as those stories were being shared, I was thinking so much about the work of the foundation that helps to fill those gaps, and how, so I think that, back to Chris's question, I think what the foundation allows us to do is to be super adaptable and super flexible, and meeting the needs of kids in ways that many of us would just feel kind of hopeless if we didn't have that resource and support. And so it really is something that gives us a lot of hope. So again, thanks for all the work that you do to make that possible for our kids. So our plan for the next portion was to share primarily Byron, as he and a team of educators has worked to develop that Corvallis Promise. Some of you have had a chance to watch a portion of the board meeting from last month, but some of you haven't been able to. And so we wanted to make sure that as we move into some conversation about how can we work together through this period of transition and really working towards implementing the Corvallis Promise, we wanted people to have shared information and knowledge, so that as we break into small groups for that conversation, we're able to do that with the same degree of information. So with that, primarily Byron, I'll add a little bit, but just the work that has gone on since the beginning of the school year is pretty phenomenal. The scope of work, the ability to gain information and insights from lots of people to pull us together to move us forward is something that we're really just appreciative of. So thanks, Byron, for the work that you've done to make that happen. So we're going to share a little bit about that, and then we'll spend time talking about how we can work together to achieve that vision.
All right, thank you. We're going to start with trivia night a little early. You ready? Angela, you can't participate because you know the answers, and actually most of us probably know these answers. So I'm going to start with, do you know how many students are in public education in Oregon? Someone can shout it out if you know it. Any guesses? Yeah.
535,000.
That's really close. I'm looking. Judah looked like he was gonna say.
I was just gonna say somebody already quizzed this on it at our annual meeting.
Oh.
It was about 500,000.
Okay, so from the internet, it says about 545,000 students in public ed in Oregon. Okay, question 2. How many students are in public education in Benton County? A little less than 10,000.
9,000?
Really close, about 8,500, according to the internet. Okay, yeah. And now the next answer is inside your Corvallis promise, but don't look. That's like the worst teacher move to do. How many students are in public schools in Corvallis? Yeah. Sammy?
So the Corvallis Promise says 5700. Earlier this year, it was 5748-ish.
Okay. Yeah. So around 5,700 students in the Corvallis School District. Okay. And then just with a thumbs up, if you know a current student in Corvallis School District. Okay. Cool. Keep that student in mind as we go into our next piece here. And then also keep in mind that 5,700 number too. So over the Corvallis Promise is really a coming together actually of like 7 to 10 years of work where things are now starting to align in a way that moves us forward in a really clear path. And so what we want to share today is that big things are happening in the Corvallis School District, and really exciting things are coming forward into next school year. So let me pull out my notes. You go to the next one. So the Corvallis Promise has, and you had the handout at your kind of spot where you're sitting. And in the Corvallis Promise, this is a collective piece of work that has come together from many, many groups, including the foundation support, over a number of years. And what the Corvallis Promise does is it pulls together all of these things that we've been working on, and it puts them together to show what we're about and who we are and our path forward. So in your handout, you'll see our shared commitments of 5 core values, 4 goals, which are our board goals, 3 instructional promises, 2 community commitments, and 1 profile of a graduate from the Corvallis School District. And so what we're going to do is walk through these pieces and then give just a little highlight of some of the things that we're really excited about what's to come with our school district. So these 5 core values came from our innovation team in 2016. So in 2016, our school district began to go out for a bond to redesign and build schools. And in that time, the innovation team was tasked with a question to answer of what should guide our design process and what should be in place as the values of how we design our schools. And this is what, through community feedback, through student feedback, through staff feedback, and the innovation team's work came together with these 5 core values. So our school buildings represent these 5 core values, and now we're moving ahead to make these come to life through our programming. Our board goals, a lot of the people in this room helped create these goals, but through community process and staff engagement, student engagement, we have these 4 board goals. I see them on the left to me, posted on the wall too, but excellent learning experiences, equitable systems, relevant and engaging learning, and healthy communities. And I see some of you following along in your little pamphlet as I go along that this has the more details to it. So our 4 goals. Our instructional promises are based out of some different educational research that I want to highlight. And our instructional promises are about achievement, connection, and equity. The definition there under achievement is our definition of rigor. And that comes from the work of Zaretta Hammond about high demand and high support for students, teaching students how to think, not just what skills to know or what facts to know. So really how to think critically about the world around them. Connection comes from our work through the Center of Educational Leadership with the University of Washington on what it means to really have a student-educator relationship at the heart of our instructional practices. And so connection is a value that we hold. Equity, our definition there is from Aguilar's definition of educational equity, and how it's designed so that every student, no matter who they are or where they come from, have the support that they need to succeed in our system. Our 2 community commitments is that all students belong and that every student is a graduate. These are centered on what we believe, that when all of our students come to us and we're focused that they belong and we build the supports they need, that they will all be able to graduate and have a plan for success in the future. So our profile of a graduate is the newest piece that has come together this school year. And that is the one profile of a CSD graduate. You heard Angela or folks talk about industry leaders coming together. So that is one of the groups that helped inform the knowledge and skills that we have landed on for all students to know by the time they leave our public school K-12 system here in Corvallis. The big highlights there, the categories though, are that students are academically prepared and future ready, that they're critical thinkers, problem solvers, and innovative learners, skilled communicators and collaborative leaders, culturally aware, engaged, and community-minded individuals, emotionally intelligent, healthy, and well-balanced individuals, adapted, self-directed, and lifelong learners. This was a task that this current innovation team worked on this fall through student feedback, staff feedback, community feedback, industry leader feedback on what they want to see coming into the workforce. And a cool thing that has developed through this, because we're in Innovation Team 2.0 now, is we're now working on the metrics that measure these skills and knowledge and measure these pieces. And we're also working on how can we take these skills or these knowledge or these pieces and communicate them annually to parents each year so that they know where their student is or their child is on this pathway forward for the skills that we want them to know by the time they graduate. So in here, this is many years of work condensed into a packet here from lots of individuals that have come together to talk about the promise of public education. And then we have it named here as Real Skills for Real Life. And so all of these pieces coming together now have started to inform us how we make decisions moving forward, what we're up to in our school district, and how we design our programming and experiences for students for now and into the future. Okay, so the next slide is when we talk about, don't skip that one. I don't like that one. Okay, so the next piece here is we've redesigned some plans, and so taking this as a guidepost for us of the Corvallis Promise and looking ahead with what you heard from all of these years of work together of how can we make that come to life. Well, we've redesigned some of our educational programming and plans. But first, I want to highlight some things that are embedded that haven't changed or have just adjusted slightly. So we know that there are students who come to us who are lagging skills in certain areas. And so we continue our types of intervention support. So intervention support means we are building supports for access to education for students. Maybe if they have skills they need to build in reading or behavior or social emotional learning, we provide that. Special education services are a guaranteed thing for students in our schools, and we have those embedded in all of our plans. Mental health support, unique, as many of you know, to the Corvallis School District, is our school-based embedded mental health program. We have therapists in all of our schools and a mental health program manager that focuses on student and staff wellness across our school district. We heard already too about our family advocate support and our health navigator support, but our team that's led by Sarah Devine that supports families across not even just our community, right? Across even outside of our community, so that students who need that access can have access to attend our schools here. School counseling is embedded in all of our schools. alternative education programs like the social emotional growth program, our Bridges program, and Academies programs. Life skills programming. Life skills is programming that's K-12 in our school district, and that's for students who have an intersectionality of exceptional needs, maybe for medical fragility and other special education needs. A talented and gifted program, and then electives and art specials K-12 is still embedded. And so our art specials, when we say specials, that means at the elementary level, the other things that are outside of a homeroom class. So like art, music, those types of specials. With school consolidation and closure, a thing that has happened is it's changed the demographics of some of our populations of schools. And so that has reestablished different Title I eligibility for some of our schools. And so 2 of those schools that are now Title I that were not Title I before are Adams Elementary and Catherine Jones Harrison Elementary. Title I means that there is a higher percentage of students or families navigating poverty, and so those Title I federal funds offset some pieces for extra resources for those schools. The other piece that's not changing in our plans is our unwavering commitment to our dual language immersion programs. A thing that is unique and a hallmark of Corvallis is that we have a K-12 dual language immersion program, and at the same time that our dual language immersion programs are built on the notion that they are to support the heritage and culture of native Spanish speakers, not for monolingual English speakers to learn Spanish. And so that equity-driven type of programming in our school district is remaining steadfast and isn't changing through our updated plans. So one of the big things to make this promise come alive is about alignment, right? So taking many years of really good work, also looking at those really interesting and unique and creative things that have been funded in classrooms through things like YAY grants or Imagine grants, and looking at how those work and inspire students in learning and creativity, but then scaling that up and aligning that from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond. And so in our plans, what you will start to see and notice is more alignment starting from kindergarten through high school in all areas of our programming. So we highlighted some of the things that are staying the same, and here's just some of what's new, what we're excited about. So one of those things that is a shift and new or coming back to us is our K-6 and K-8 library services being open for full days and staffed by our library media technicians with a focus on digital citizenship lessons. We're getting ready to start an instructional technology advisory committee that will be working through the skills and knowledge that we want all students to know K-12 by grade level for digital citizenship and technology needs and skills and knowledge. And so that will be embedded also through some of that work in our libraries. And just the idea of having libraries open before and after school throughout the whole school day for students to visit, not depending on a scheduled time, is a thing that we've heard from students and community members as a desire, and we're excited that we can start to offer that again. Art and music are also embedded as part of our plans, and there's also some expansion and adjustments to our art and music programs coming up for next year. So currently and into the future for next year, at all of our K-6 schools, we have art once a week for 45 minutes and music once a week for 45 minutes. That currently happens at K-5, and that will expand to K-6. What that means is currently 6th graders can choose not to take music or art, and into the future now, they'll have that built into their schedule where they will have year-long art and music as well as part of their 6th grade experience. And because they're at that age, they might want to try some other things. They can start to make some choices and forecast for some electives that are for ensemble electives for 5th and 6th grade that will be new for them this coming school year. The other thing, when we look at our data and we know where we're moving into future readiness and real skills for real life, we need to really be looking at science and career readiness. And our science scores have shown some decline and some stagnation on where we see students growing in that. And that's partly because of teaching reading and math. We have not had the flexibility in some of our schedules to schedule in science every day. So coming up, that will be new next year, is a science block for all 5th and 6th graders every day that will happen. And embedded kind of with that block is also the establishment of a new block of learning called a career block during 5th and 6th grade that will continue on through the junior high levels. Our career block focuses on these 5 areas where they start to tie to college and career readiness lessons that help prepare students for CTE or career technical education opportunities when they get to high school. So we're working on how we teach students, right, about arts, information, and communication, or the hospitality business and management, starting in 5th grade to start having those types of lessons. In a board meeting earlier this year, we talked about some of our revised and revamped pathways for math at the 7th and 8th grade level that provide multiple access points for students at different levels of learning for math. And we're excited to be able to offer that. At the same time, we know that there are a number of students that also need to build some skills in math or need extra support in math. And a theory we are working from is to provide those foundational skills at a more enhanced level at the elementary levels to have students be prepared for that junior high workload. And so for us to do that, we just actually hired this week, and it'll be start to be announced in the coming weeks, math coaches for all of our Title I schools. Those math coaches will help our elementary classroom teachers at the Title I schools with best instructional practices in math, as well as how to help struggling learners in math, and also how to help accelerate learners. It's a lag. Well, there it is. There we go. So with our redesign of schools, we've moved to K-6 schools, a 7/8 junior high, and then 9-12 comprehensive high schools, as well as our other programs like Bridges and College Hill. And the junior high structural changes allow us to really set up a system that is built for high school preparation that's different than that middle level 6th to the 8th grade type of a model. And in this change for us, we've moved to a semester structure. And moving to the semester structure allows us to do a full year of science and a full year of social studies. Again, going back to some of that science pieces I talked about a little bit ago. The other piece that moving to the semester schedule and changes does is it expands our elective options. This school year, for next school year, we did a thing that was a little different where we base elective options off of student interest. And so about 2 weeks ago, our current 6th and 7th graders took an interest survey to rank a lot. I don't know how many. It was a lot. 20 or more, 25 more, a lot of possible elective options to see which were the most popular that they were interested in. Then we can narrow that down to forecast for what students want. And moving to the structural junior high changes this way allowed us to offer more elective options than we've had in the past. The same thing for our junior high to connect to the 5th and 6th grade science and career block is career exploration lessons that will happen embedded as part of one of their electives at the junior high. And then at the junior high, 7th and 8th grade, it's a lot of kids, and we know that. And we have ways to support that and to help students feel seen and known and have people care for them so that sense of belonging is increased. And so we've designed for the junior high a house model where students will be in houses with small cohorts. And because we made the decisions to move to a semester, it allows us to do block scheduling for the junior high. And what that means is that a math, a science, a language arts, and a social studies teacher can be a pair of four, not a pair, a group of four. And that group of four can teach the same kids for the entire school year in junior high as a block and get to know that cohort of kids in their house. And that group of teachers might have 2 cohorts within their house that they get to know. But what that does is it shrinks that down and also doesn't create a lot of change for students throughout the school year, like on our trimester schedules now, where a student might have a different math teacher 3 different times throughout the school year possibly. And so this allows us to really kind of shrink worlds within a big world and also create intentional design where students can get to know and teachers can get to know the same group of students through their core classes for an entire year of learning. I think that's a game changer for our 7th and 8th graders. Then we also know there's flexibility needed because they're also 7th and 8th graders. And so the other part of the schedule besides the 4 periods of their cohort is elective options and other options where they break apart from the cohort and they commingle with other 7th and 8th graders throughout the junior high. Athletics continue also to be part of our programming and plans. Our high school athletic directors will also move down to help coordinate our junior high athletics. And then in the plans coming up are how we do fall, winter, and spring athletics based out of the Corvallis Junior High, and including our sixth graders in some of those pieces too. More details will be shared as we approach those athletic seasons. Okay. So here is an example of this K-12 alignment, and this is just one of the examples of K-12 alignment, but it's the newest one, and the one that has come from teacher voice and student voice on what they want. Our innovation team, this round of innovation team, did a survey with high school students about their most memorable experiences in middle school and elementary school, both like learning experiences, and we also asked what their worst ones were too. And we had a lot of feedback from students. And then in our innovation team, our teachers also talked about what kids want. And then going back to our core values and our Corvallis promise, it's hands-on, real world, adaptable, meaningful types of learning experiences. And so that is also a thing that has happened over the years when teachers apply for grants through, I know we look at those grants to help, sort through, and it's always things like that teachers want to do for kids. And so what if we can do that in a big way that's guaranteed for every student at every school across our school district? So that's what we're going to do. So one of our new shifts next year is adding a STEAM specialist at K4. So that means in addition to music, art, and PE and library every week by a specialist, our K4 students will also have a dedicated 45-minute STEAM time taught by a STEAM specialist that will be hands-on learning. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So that combination of that foundational, exploratory, hands-on, play-based, creative process for K4. Then that builds through the grades of 5 through 8. So 5th and 6th graders will start to do that career block that we talked about, and that is really around career awareness. And so they'll start to hear about careers, and there'll be hands-on learning based on those through hands-on kits that we are working through. And then in 7-8, that moves into like deeper exploration of those careers and areas. I just looked at one of the kits online this week that we're looking at, and like one's like a veterinary kit, and you get like rubber animals to be a fake veterinarian with and do things with them. There's also a cool cosmetology kit, and so but in those pieces that help students have a greater awareness of what they might choose when they move into a career and technical path and into the high school. And so this whole K-12 alignment piece starts in kindergarten with hands-on STEAM experiences that's creative and exploratory and play-based. It moves into more structured pieces in 5-6 where you start to gain some awareness of all those really cool creative things I did in kindergarten and first grade. I might be able to do that for a real job when I get older, but I'm not really sure if I want to do that yet, but I'm starting to know about it. Then in 7th and 8th grade, you can start to go, I actually kind of like these things, so I'm going to explore these things more. And then 9th grade, we're planning through next year for high school. But in 9th grade, an idea is that you still get to explore a little bit more. And then in 10th grade, you can start to make a post-secondary plan for your career and technical education. But we just think that students starting in kindergarten, my daughter's in kindergarten this year, and so I'm really excited to see how this plays out for her. But that when students get into that 10th grade year, they're going to have a pretty good idea of what they like and don't like. They still might change their mind, but they're going to think critically about it based on what we're teaching them in their lessons. And then they might have a better idea of what they want to do and choose in their pathway. The other piece in this that we're excited about is the idea when we get into high school, there's work-based and work sites that students can go to and test these skills. Like today, I just talked to one of our high school principals about some things we were working through for students who are doing health occupations and working at Samaritan right now as part of their high school experience. The other part is thinking about how do we guarantee those types of community experiences for students in kindergarten through 6th grade. And so we've been working on a community partner to partner with every single grade level. And so, for instance, a community partner might have 3rd grade, and then we're working with those community partners to design lessons and field trips for that grade level that are guaranteed for all schools for that grade level. So it doesn't matter what school you go to, you'll get this community experience. And the thought behind that is that in K6, by the end of those 7 years of kindergarten through 6th grade, you will have had 7 embedded community experiences, and you'll know 7 places in your community that you've explored and been a part of that can help start to inform you as you move through your other grades. And so this is just one example of that K-12 big picture articulation that we're really excited about to offer, and that we think will really embed to help make this promise come to life.
Questions for Byron?
And don't forget to turn your microphone on with the red light if you do ask questions for the live stream. Thank you.
I have one question for adding the STEM specialist, and what is the motivation behind this add-on to the curriculum, and also and how does district measure the education outcome for this add-on? You know, like after a couple of years, how can we know if it works or not?
I think our standardized science testing will be an outcome that we can measure. The other thing that's been particularly important to me is our student perception data, and does their learning apply to real life? And we actually ask students on surveys those questions, and does your learning make sense to you of your future? Do you know what that is helping you for your future? So I think those 2 metrics are 2 that we'll think about. For curriculum and resources, we are just now in the beginning phases of our teacher teams working through what curriculum and resources materials do we need to put together. We also are working through the hiring for our STEAM specialists, and I envision that those folks will be a big part of that. The other part is we also have some great experts already within our school district. I know some people tonight went to the Sustainability Summit at OSU, and that's a really good example of STEAM work. That's real life pieces from our green teams at school. And so we're all positioned to now just take off on these pieces.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. So I got to spend 3 hours today at the University of Oregon at a job fair, meeting pre-service teachers who are so excited to get into the profession. And my colleague here to my left, Byron, I've heard this presentation many times. And so I was able to speak from this presentation to those pre-service teachers about what Corvallis is and why you want to teach in Corvallis. And I can't tell you how assuring it was for me. It felt great to be able to say these things over and over again. The students, I wanted to call them kids, sorry. The students were coming to me, many of them with questions about how our district is connected to the community. And that is such a huge part of this Corvallis promise. And I was able to speak to that. So thank you. And I think the future is bright.
All right, so just going to do a time check here. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to transition into groups with some questions that Angela and I helped to develop, and for some discussion. Do we need to take a 5-minute break before we make that transition, or are folks ready to move into discussion?
A break is always appreciated.
I think I have to. Okay, I think I officially have to say that. So we're going to go ahead and take a short break. That's the official announcement of the break for 5 minutes or so. 5 minutes.
7:38.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that Judo was excused for the rest of the evening, so we'll go ahead and get started on the rest of the meeting. I hand it over to Ryan.
All right, so now that you're seated, we're going to make everybody get up and move. But this was a good starting point to get everybody back. So we have about 30 minutes for a conversation. You'll see a half sheet with several questions to frame the conversation. We have 6 of our board members. We have 9 from the foundation, and then we have some students and some district staff. So really what we're going to end up with is groups of three primarily. So each one of the board members, I'd like you, when we get up, to find a different spot around the room, and so then other folks can come and connect with you to make those groups of 2 to 3. And then we're going to have opportunities for you to have some discussion. I'm hoping that you can identify a recorder, so someone to record the information that you discuss. And then we will have an opportunity for the large group report out, and if there's follow-up questions, that can happen as well. So really tonight is about taking the information from the foundation, the information from the district, and continuing to think about how we work together in alignment to help our district to achieve that Corvallis promise. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lou.
I just wanted to make sure that if there's anybody watching online or watching the recording later, that during the work session, the audio will probably be more limited due to us moving around and having multiple conversations. We will have one mic on in the room still to have the audio recording and live streaming, but I just wanted to make sure people online knew that.
And I'll give you some time checks along the way, but other than that, go ahead and begin to transition to a good, solid conversation.
Okay.
I'll stay here.
What?
There's more of us than that. Yeah, there are at least 4 of us.
Chris is good. Gordon is going. Where's Gordon? Is Gordon coming over here? Are you coming over here? Okay.
Lauren, stay here too.
I mean, this is something I've always struggled with about elementary education, education, which is right, read, write, gets you so far.
But that doesn't translate. I feel
now AI. It's so easy to go get an answer. I think
that's what if you just look at the internet, right now there's almost doing this yeah, we were talking about the school, but also from my perspective,
together is that our dollar amounts were we have to be strategic. We have to be mindful of the investments. Where we focus on money, and bridging that's just an example. We have to be really thoughtful about that. It's hard.
Dozens of staff tossed up in the air and shuffled around. So we're in a position to participation. Credit union but it's a lot to it. It's a real world. I thought and right now, The most trusted man in America was in newspaper. Nobody don't know. People maybe they know this, but they've never thought about things like money. And that's the local newspaper. So Eugene TV station is not interested in talking to Kelly about the website.
We're at 15 minutes, so about halfway through the conversation. 15 minutes in.
And that's one of the reasons we have cohesion between our small board and your small board.
Folks are so busy just keeping the lights on. Right. And doing their day job. We have an opportunity, we're all volunteers.
Right.
And we have, I think we have more spare seconds than we actually use collectively and individually. And so that to be used. I don't have a specific suggestion. I just think, I think, I say this, to our foundation is that I think we're not leveraging the individual talents and time. That's not your problem. That's not your problem. And ultimately it might come up with something that I'd like to see more forward.
Exactly. So sometimes being the deliverer of good news, you have a lot of bills.
I can't tell you how many townspeople I run into. They don't really pay much, they're not really paying much attention. They know something's wrong. Something really, something got messed up. And they're upset about it, but it's unfocused.
if we want even more stuff, we value,
as well as,
for as much as I hope you understand, we value a close relationship. We also value protectively our independence. So, because the reason that we can put 350 people in the cafeteria who love what we do is they don't see us as having a bias toward being exceptional. We don't have any policy, we don't have firing or school, anything else. And are not seen as an instrument in school. Yes. And if we ever were, I think it would be different. No. It's more like the question that you're asking. How can we help? Right. By the way, we have a list. And that's the foundation.
We have about 10 more minutes.
Let's go learn about reality. I mean, it's that too.
When I think about it,
To me,
Although, at the same time, lots of teachers teach what they really want to know, passionate about, and they won't have to. I don't have to teach science because science is I can teach what I care about. Science is great, but I don't qualify. They're less affected by the cost of living in the population. They're fewer, they're almost not reliable because we're talking about the internet. Somebody said, "Oh, as soon as you said it, then it made sense." Yeah, but it's not true. But it's on the internet. Exactly. See, nobody asked that question because it's true. Well, when we have, that was the classic. I don't want to get political, but when we have people in positions of power and authority who don't believe in science or drug, or no, we're not going to talk about that.
We already talked about it all day.
You as well. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
When I was teaching, we were talking we were talking about critical thinking. We were trying to teach critical thinking. We weren't facing
Exactly. And that's something I tell you, speaking again from the party system,
All right, we're down to just a minute or two, so go ahead and wrap up those conversations and head back. All right, we're going to come back together. Typically, when we've done this in the past, haven't really given enough time for the share out. It has been something that we've done briefly as we get ready to hit the road. So we gave it a little bit more time tonight, just so we would be able to have not just a share out, but if there's questions, follow-up questions or discussion that comes from that, that is totally fine as well. And so we just wanted to open it up to the larger group for groups to be able to share out some of the things they discuss, some of the ideas they may have come up with, or ideas that can then be iteratively improved just through the discussion. So that's really what the next 20 minutes is slated for. And if we go beyond that in terms of time, that's probably okay too, by a little bit.
I do like the timer though. Thank you, Kim. Thanks. Who would like to share first? Sammy's mic is unmuted.
So I can go first. Thank you, Aya and Gordon, and Byron as well. Very brief points about what was the highlights from the information shared by the Foundation District that is new or important information to share with others. Really the common goal and the focus on the kids. So it was a really great highlight that was highlighted. And the alignment between the Foundation and the district share outs. Again, the same idea, the common goal, focus on the kids and how the programming, the grants are supporting the students, and how the school board and the school district through its Corvallis Promise is focusing on the kids. There was a discussion around implementing the Corvallis Promise. How can both boards, the Foundation and the school board, contribute to successful success? And we talked about good communication, really making sure that we have strong communication grounded by the stories, telling the stories that we uplift through the grants being granted to the school district through the foundation, and the narrative and the story and the data that's emerged from our school district. One thing about facilitating collaboration, again, another emphasis on communication, making sure that we maintain those conversations that we have as two boards. And noteworthy that both student graduation data and our outcomes have improved since both boards have collaborated together, and also the fundraising and the granting has increased dramatically since both boards started meeting together once and then twice a year. So really something to highlight and celebrate about this collaboration that's ongoing. And last but not least, it's when there are barriers, or what do we envision of barriers to exist to implementing the Corvallis Promise? And really one interesting highlight was disagreements on pathways and ways of implementing different solutions and options. And I want to highlight something the participants in the group have shared, is that whenever we had the barriers or disagreements, a really great grounding activity would be looking into the two community commitments. They can be a really good North Compass for the conversation to be grounded on what's best for the kids. All students belong, and every student is a graduate. Gordon, would you like to add anything, or Byron? And I see thumbs up from them. That's the reports.
Thanks, Sammy. What other group would like to share? Oh.
I can share next. So I was in a group with Nina and with Therese, and I think we had a really nice conversation. So in response to the first question, we noted a few highlights. I think one thing that we were really excited about was the commitment to the community involvement for students, and some of the things that Byron talked about, and having those points of connection for students with their community, and sort of building them up to be citizens of Corvallis, and having those connections to their community to sort of become liaisons for their communities in their schools. I think another thing that we talked about that Nina brought up was how it's sort of cool to see how the Imagine grants that we've done with the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation have sort of gone on and inspired these ideas that are coming from the Corvallis Promise in order to sort of put those on a bigger scale and give students these like opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise by using those resources in ways for students to kind of expand those. And then something we also noted was sort of the focus on starting that career-based learning for students earlier and giving those opportunities for them to sort of try out different things and see what works for them, what they're competent in, what brings them joy, starting earlier in their school, so that once they are reaching graduation, they have a better idea of things that they're interested in. I think in terms of alignment between the foundation and the district, we talked again at sort of about that idea about the Imagine grants, and then also a lot of opportunities that can reach a lot of different students at different places. A lot of the stuff that Byron talked about was just exciting, that all of these students, every student, like the board talked about, is going to have these opportunities. And also making opportunities out of what has been, I think, a difficult transition, but doing what we can to make that transition as sort of as prosperous as possible for our students. And then finally, we talked about how can the school board and the foundation board contribute to the Corvallis Promise. And we talked about this continued meetings, this collaboration, connecting with each other so that we continue to be aligned and so that the foundation can continue to understand the need of students in the district by communicating with our district liaisons. In terms of barriers, we talked a little bit about how limited resources can make things difficult, but also how with our limited resources, even though they might be limited, they can make such a huge difference in students' lives. And just making sure that we're continuing to figure out those ways that we can implement our resources to do what's best for our students.
Thanks, Shonda.
Thank you. I had a great conversation with Yen and Hope as well, so I'll do my best, and then please feel free to add as well. In terms of highlights, some of the things that came out as highlights were just the overall plan and vision, and then down to little details of having libraries open, K-8 option at Mountain View, which was seen as exciting, career path explorations, and also some recognition of students maybe having different experiences depending on their age and their grade level. So, having a high schooler at home, her experience may be different with this pathway versus someone else who's coming in with a kindergartner or a fifth grader who is looking at really stepping into something new this next year. And so wanting to acknowledge in our group those different ways that families might experience these changes depending on what phase their own students are in this process, and also thinking about sustainability of this plan and looking at, is this a promise? A question that came up in our group was, is the Corvallis Promise something that is expected to last for years or for decades? And to what degree are things sustained that are working really well, and things changed along the way as needs come up where flexibility may be needed if something is not working as expected, or if needs change or context changes. There were a couple of questions that came up, specific questions that came up in our group around things like electives and how does switching from a trimester to semester schedule allow electives, or the number of electives that are allowed, does that shift? Social impacts of the housing model, both in terms of that benefit of having that core group for social and emotional closeness and belonging, as well as what's the impact on building community with the larger school and long-term impacts of that, or what will be happening. So the questions coming up in our group also highlighted what we came to, I'm going a little bit out of order, in terms of collaboration and where we may be able to have impact together and collectively, and communication, just like the other groups, came up. So communication pathways for families who have those questions now, or students who have those questions now, to help assure them around some of those things that are coming into play that are there to be really excited about. Some of the benefits and the gains that are coming to the district because of some of the challenging decisions around consolidation, making sure that families have, through lots of different channels, through multiple ways, that information about what there is to be excited about, as well as pathways to have those questions answered that are coming up for them. The need for positive marketing that's effective and helpful for families came up in our group. especially around so many changes that are happening. Let's see. And then also the need to highlight the way that different voices and different input has come into play in shaping the Corvallis Promise and these plans. Sometimes there is emphasis on one person, the superintendent, or one board in terms of here are the decision makers. And that doesn't always highlight and emphasize the incredible work that has gone into the planning behind this, that has come from student voice, that has come from family voice over many years in lots of different ways, that has come from really dedicated educators who have put these plans in place and been thinking about how to do this now that the resources were available to step aligned with it. So just, I think, deepening all of our understanding around what has gone into the plan as it is now and how do we really effectively communicate that. And then just jumping back really briefly to that alignment piece, we noted that the foundations opened with that attention to every student, which is really inherent in the Corvallis Promise as well. And both in terms of really understanding that students have different needs and looking at how differentiated support is provided, from everything like math coaching all the way on up through accelerated pathways being opened up in new ways as they haven't in the past, as well as other supports that are being put in place. So a lot of excitement for that. And then appreciation and gratitude for the foundations really working so closely with the school district on identifying those high impact needs that need to be sustained, such as summer school programs, those very high value situations where students are coming in and looking forward to going to and being at summer school. That is pretty phenomenal. And then seeing the outcomes associated with that too, and understanding how important it is to sustain those programs while also having the Imagine grants, the YAY grants that are responsive to emergent needs. There will be emergent needs that we can't predict, we can't anticipate, and having these grants that really honor and then create learning experiences for students to apply for grants, to identify a problem, to be able to push their courage to speak to a group of adults and share about that need and actually go through that process and then bring it back to their own school with their identified needs as being so critical, as well as those teacher-led grants. So thank you. Did I miss anything?
Thanks, Shauna. Who would like to go next? Brittany?
So I'm not going to repeat a lot of the things that's been said already, because it sounds like we're all on the same wavelength right now. A couple of things that Rick and Mark and I talked about is our different roles as a board here, and also their board, because their independence is very important. But what we also recognize is that this plan, Corvallis Promise Plan, a big component of that is the community. And the board, the foundation, has a much farther reach into the community with their connections and than we do. I mean, I just remember seeing the Hands Across Corvallis event and just seeing all the groups there, and so you guys really have that additional reach. I think we talked again, hammered home the point, communication is the key to our success. And also, a barrier to the success also is us not being able to tell the story of what we're trying to do. So, did I miss anything, Rick or Mark?
Thanks, Brittany. Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, I was with Louie and with Julie, so I want to just bring up a highlight that we didn't hear yet. That kind of, I think we talked about this, kind of struck me a little bit, is that the Corvallis Promise, talks about the fact that we have 5 Title I schools now, and that is really truly telling the story of what Corvallis is and who our students are. We see that across our school district now in 5 different Title I schools. It's just kind of a more accurate telling of our Corvallis story. And when we talk about alignment, that pairs really well with the family support that our foundation provides to our students across the district. One of the things we talked about with the partnership or alignment, and the second question, is that we're both in the business of removing barriers for students, and we just do it in different ways, but together it creates this incredible success for our kids. So that's work that we would like to continue. And when we talked about new opportunities, we thought about the part of the Corvallis Promise that talks about, well, it's actually a board goal, healthy communities, and investing in our staff and making sure that their wellness is also at the forefront. And what would it look like to start considering what our staff need to have a full bucket that they can bring into the classroom so that our kids can be more successful.
Can I add real quick to that? I'll just add real quick. When we say there's 5 of the schools, I think it's helpful to think too, like 4 out of 5 of the elementary schools, right? That's almost all of them, and 1 out of 2 of the K-8. So when you frame it like a little bit like that, you're like, oh, that's almost all the schools. That's almost all the elementary age students in our district. Maybe not all of them, but at least at the school levels, right? That's says a lot about the need in our community. And one thing with the staff one is thinking of how to provide care for staff too, I think is one of the parts of the conversation we had too, and reminding to take that time, because I was like, how many people take just 1 hour a couple times a month is really hard. And because we live in a society that values like burnout and grind culture, and that's not always healthy for not just the staff but the students too, and the families that are served. And so having some kind of thing in place to emphasize the health of the staff themselves too. Next.
Okay, so our group was Chris, myself, and Jack. And I'll share, a lot of common things came up that I won't repeat, but one thing we spent a lot of time talking about was in the Corvallis Promise, it's really exciting to hear about this STEAM and career exploration embedded all as early as kindergarten, and things that maybe now people are benefiting from if you just happen to be in a class where Miss so-and-so knows Mr. so-and-so and they get to come to their class, you learn about this stuff. But if you don't happen to be in that person's class, you don't get that experience. And so, systemically providing that, and it seems like both an opportunity and a barrier to consider the need to really harvest the resource in our community to help make that tangible in terms of, our industry leaders and partners, and talking about on-site visits and all that things. And it feels a little enormous when you think about K to 12. So how do we work together to help make that happen? That's a question. And Chris, I thought, had a really good example to share about when similar work had happened some years ago about bringing all of the mental health resources in the community together to convene kind of like a summit, and how do we break down these silos and barriers. And it feels like to realize the Corvallis Promise, we have to be able to do something like that within our community partner resources. I don't know what that looks like, but that was what we spent one of the things we spent a lot of time talking about. Do you want to add?
Yeah, we were really lucky to have Jack with us, and just having that student voice is such a gift. And we also talked about just how do we incorporate more student voice into the work that we're all doing with the foundation does it with grants, and what you're doing with the Promise is just all around that. And so wanting to make sure. And then we also had a really good conversation about in this Corvallis Promise, there's a lot of talk about critical thinkers and being logical. And I don't know if sometimes our community doesn't understand sometimes the importance of investing into helping our kids become critical thinkers. And again, Jack was like, oh, that's just so necessary, and how every student needs that. And he even said, his experience as a young boy in our district and just needing that investment into how to be a good critical thinker and how important that is, and especially in the program he's in right now. And the foundation supports that with the Yay grants and all of that. And so just the importance of it was really, it was a great conversation.
Did everybody go? Nice. We're on time even. Yeah. Did you have stuff?
Were there any follow-up questions or things that another group shared that you wanted to be sure to second or had questions about?
I have a question. I think it's for Byron and or Ryan. I mean, it occurs to me that this Corvallis promise has the promise of being really disruptive in a good way. I mean, we're talking about qualitatively changing how we will prepare our young people for life. And I just wonder what's the implementation plan? I mean, you know, in general terms at least, I mean, you can't just turn a switch and make this stuff all happen. I mean, this is a fundamentally different, I think, approach to education than the 3 R's or learning facts or whatever, you know, whatever is going on, you know, presently. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, I think I have a couple things that come to mind, but one of them is when we started the innovation team. So we have a group of educators, a couple of board members, our union presidents, and they started meeting together at the beginning of this school year. And a lot of the work came out of conversations they had. So when they met this Monday, some of the questions were different now that we have this in place. It was about what sort of resources do we need? How can we assess our progress in this? And that group is going to continue to meet for 2 years. So the folks who signed up for it in the fall made a 2-year commitment to continue. So that way, because we know that this isn't something that happens overnight. And so we knew it needed a longer period of time. And that 2-year commitment doesn't mean that a group won't continue to meet as we continue to work towards implementation. But for now, we know that there's a group that's invested and focused on moving this forward across our system. And it's primarily made up of educators who are in classrooms, both certified and classified, working with kids every day.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I just had one, as some folks were talking, a piece of alignment that I noticed, and we didn't. It wasn't explicit in our presentation, but in the foundation's presentation, but it's something that we both do, is recognition for educators and the work that they're doing that uphold this promise or our values in a lot of ways. So like the Golden Apples is a way that happens, and we've also we'll be embarking on a way to recognize staff next year throughout our process for upholding parts of the Corvallis promise too. And so I think that's a cool kind of connection and alignment that we both have in that shared work too.
Before I turn it back over to Lou to conclude the meeting, I want to just again take a moment to thank the foundation, not just for being here tonight, but just the innovative idea of making financial resource available to teachers and educators who are transitioning for next year, recognizing that there will be needs, unmet needs, in a way to help to support folks through that is something that you shared about tonight, but it's something that's really, I've been able to talk to folks about it, and it's really reassuring to know that the community has your back. And that really shows up in the ability to ask for those funds to get the things that you need so that you can so you can teach the way you want to teach. So thanks again for making that happen. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. And I also wanted to thank you all for the meeting this evening. I look forward to it because we work separately but towards the same goal. And that's for supporting the students and families in our district. And looking forward to the work ahead. I know that there's some financial woes potentially ahead, and appreciate you all filling the gap in the ways you have and continuing to support the programs. I don't know where our school district would be without the work of the foundation, it would be a different district, I believe. And you help us get to those goals that are set, and also our cool graduation rate that's been highlighted several times, the 90%, but is in part because of y'all's support, especially with the summer program and other means as well. So just want to say thank you and look forward to continuing to work with you all in the upcoming year. And with no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:39 p.m. I was trying to round it to 40, but it didn't work. 8:39.
Thanks, everybody. Can we make sure that we get a set of notes from each of the groups, or a picture of the notes that's texted to me, or we have a copy machine, whatever. Just we want to make sure that we get that information.